All right, folks are coming in the door. Folks are coming in the door. The numbers are ticking up. I hope everybody is well. It's always great to have you in the space. So many folks I have not met before in a physical way. Some of you I remember virtually. It's just great to have everybody. And here it is at the end of the day, and you're still trusting us to bring you something dynamic and alive. That feels so good. So good. Glad to see everybody coming in. Maybe we'll give it just one more minute because I still see the numbers clicking up. Hope everybody's feeling good. I hope everybody's had a great start to the semester. Um, I have to say, I always find this a dynamic period when the students come back, makes me feel young again. I really need that. You see how much gray is in my head. So I always appreciate that happening. And for those of you who have been on we all from different campuses here, I'm quite sure, but for those who've been on the Stores campus, I'm just kind of excited by how gorgeous it is. I've been on the Avery Point campus a couple days ago. Um, I don't know that you could not make that campus gorgeous from whatever place you're standing at on that campus. Looking forward to visiting the rest of the campuses over the course of the fall. All right, folks are still coming in. It's about one after, and to be respectful of everyone's time, we're going to go ahead and get started. It's, as I was saying a moment ago, it's really great to have everybody in the space. For those of you who are new faculty, you probably don't realize this because you're new faculty. But this year we decided to do a little something different. We decided to try to stretch out the information and to place it on the calendar when it seems most prescient and most helpful to you versus having the one new faculty orientation at the beginning of the year. And this is our first get together, first monthly get together. Next month, I just want to remind you, if you don't already know and haven't already registered, is our resource fair, which will happen October 14th. What we're planning on now is from 12 to 2 in the Student Union Ballroom. We will have a virtual component either that day or the next day. We're still working on that so we can make sure for those who can't physically make it into the space that we can have as many folks as possible participate with us. We've asked the tech folks to get with us. I had some ideas around the Jetsons that they squashed right off the bat. I tried to work it out for us, really, I did. But they squashed that. But I think there are some ways that they're going to be able to help us. I'm really excited for that to happen. But but for today, we're going to have a different kind of conversations. We have some superstars in the space with us today. But I just want to take a moment. We probably have too many folks on to just go one by one and introduce ourselves. But I mean, I would love to hear, just how you doing for those of you who don't mind unmuting and jumping in really quickly. Something that's really good about your first couple of weeks here at the university, or you don't have to be new faculty and you're here. Something good that happened in this first couple of weeks, something that really enthused you, something really dynamic. Is there anything good out there in the stratosphere? You know what? I didn't even introduce myself. Before you all get started with your stuff, I should probably tell you who I am. Like, who is this cat just talking up a storm? My name is Michael Bradford. I am the Vice Provost for Faculty, Staff, and Student Development. I'm a faculty member in dramatic arts. I come as a playwright and a director. I've been in this office just under a year, and having a wonderful time with the colleagues here and all the folks around campus that I get to deal with, you included. So that's who I am. But let me go back to the question of the day. Just give a quick shout out if something good has popped up for you in the last couple of weeks.
Hi, I'm
Please.
Sal Frasca. I've been at the university off and on for 20 years. And I returned last year to be the director of the Connecticut Veterinary Medical Diagnostic Laboratory, which is the state's veterinary diagnostic laboratory. And the good
Excellent.
thing that happened to me is that we hired a wonderful young budding veterinary pathologist in Emily Reinhardt, and I think she's going to do great things for us, and I'm looking forward to working with her in the future. I think it's a really good hire. We desperately needed somebody, and she's going to be great. So I
Fantastic,
think that's
fantastic.
great.
Always a good thing to shout out colleagues. I see in the chat, love the positive vibes from the other faculty members. Love seeing the students hanging out on the lawn. Students seem so ridiculously excited to be back. They're awake. Oh, that's a good thing. At 8 o'clock in the morning, doing better than me. Ready to do chat, discuss, and ask questions. Fantastic, fantastic. Who else out there has got a quick shout out? Please, I see a hand go up. Please.
Hi, my name is Layla Danishmandi. I'm a professor in the School of Engineering. I'm a professor of innovation and entrepreneurship, and I was a PhD student at UConn, and now I'm a professor here. So I'm really glad to be here now in this new role. And I absolutely agree. Seeing the students on campus it's amazing. It's beautiful. I'm really glad to be back in person.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Isn't that a nice kind of like bookended thing? You come as a student in whatever capacity, undergraduate, graduate, PhD, and then you come back as faculty. I love those stories. We need a cup of coffee sometime just so I can hear about that. I love those journeys. I love those stories.
Anytime.
Fantastic. All right, all right. Great to have you here. Anybody else with a quick shout out? We got a few minutes before we really need to jump in. Let's hear something. Let's hear something good. We all need to feel good. Let's hear something good. Who's got something good? How many folks have we got here today? We have 34 folks. We've heard two comments. I know in the 32 other folks who are here, there's at least one more. I'm betting a quarter because I only bet big money that there's way more than that, but there's at least one. Come on. Oh, we're being shy. We're being shy. No need to be shy. I'm just going to take for granted that we have all had some good stuff happen to us in the last couple of weeks. New colleagues coming on board, the meeting of new colleagues, new staff coming on board, the meeting of new staff, students and their dynamism that we have all enjoyed, some new grad students that you might be advising, that we have all had some really good things going. And at the end of the day, that's why we are here. We are here to support your success in the best way that we can. Success for you, success for how you're supporting your colleagues, successful support of your students. That's really what we are doing here. So we can, as Sly and the Family Stone said, keep the good times rolling. I don't know if y'all know anything about Sly and the Family Stone. If you're of a certain age, you do. But at any rate, what I'm trying to say is we just want to make good things happen for you while you are here and encourage you to stay, continue to break bread with you, and just have a feast every time we get together and support each other. So we are going to go ahead and get started. I would like to introduce the first two folks who will be bringing us some information and that we'll be in conversation with. And first is Suzanne Honorado. She's the Executive Director of Student Health and Wellness, overseeing medical care, mental health, health promotions, and pharmacy services for UConn students. Prior to joining UConn, Suzanne served in the senior healthcare leadership roles, managing comprehensive services throughout the healthcare continuum, as well as in various roles in higher education. A lot of experience. Her interests include creating healthy communities through collaborations, prevention, and education, which is why we are here today, and promoting health equity and reducing health disparities by understanding the impact of social and environmental factors on health outcomes. Suzanne, welcome. Great to have you here today. Joining Suzanne will be Christina Stevens. Christina is the Director of Mental Health and Student Health and Wellness in Student Health. Let me start that again. Director of Mental Health with Student Health and Wellness, and brings over 30 years of experience in the field of mental health, having worked across nonprofit, and public sectors, as well as in higher education. Over the course of her career, her work has been focused on promoting optimal health and well-being for children, youth, and families. Welcome both Suzanne and Christina, and please jump in. Let us know if there's anything we can do for you while you're talking. Amanda is at the ready, but great to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting us. We love to be invited to these kinds of forums because, as you'll see as we move through our presentation, we really believe that student health and well-being is a huge campus commitment. So we're looking for all to do their kind of like whatever they can, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that. So Christina has generously, graciously agreed to be my slide presenter, or at least the advancer. So we're going to see if we can get this to work. So that's us. Next slide, please. So, oops.
Hang on for a second. What are you seeing right now?
A tiny version of the slide. I don't know what other people are seeing. We practice.
I know. Are you seeing the full screen now?
I think that we'll ask other people if it's okay.
Well, it's okay with me. We still get to see you, and I love actually seeing you and seeing the slide personally.
I don't know what's happening there. It's a whole new thing.
It's okay. I actually like, I can't see everybody else, but that's okay. So I'll go to the next slide, Christina. See, this is exactly what happened when I was driving the last time. So
I have to try one other thing. Oh, okay.
See the full screen.
You see the full screen?
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Next slide. Thank you for that voice of confidence. Next slide.
Are the slides not advancing? Oh, no,
I'm
that's.
not seeing it. Are people seeing different slides?
No, it's on the first one.
Amanda, I think you are up, my friend.
I'm up. All right.
I think so. I don't know why it's doing that. Although I did pretty much predict that, right? That Murphy decided to show up, Michael.
Yeah.
Go to the second slide. Yes, perfect. Thank you. So what Christina and I want to do today, now that we have our slides, is I'm going to just spend a minute to tell you about the full array of services that Student Health and Wellness provides. And again, as Michael mentioned, that's medical care, mental health, health promotion, and ancillary services, including pharmacy. Then what we really want to do is hone right in on why are we going to focus today on mental health and well-being, and provide a little bit of context for that. And then I'm going to move into a little bit of our new approach from a health promotion perspective. And then most of the rest of the meeting, probably half of our presentation, will be Christina really talking about some strategies for faculty in particular, and sort of our services and how you can help support students as we really navigate an evolving landscape. And some of what I'll show you is that even pre-COVID, there was a lot of attention on this issue, and we are not completely aware yet what COVID is going to do to the mental health and well-being of our students as we move forward. So this is probably not going to be a presentation that we get to retire anytime soon. So next slide, Christina. Amanda, thank you. So the vision of Student Health and Wellness is to cultivate optimal health and lifelong well-being for every UConn student. And this is a re-visioning for us from about 4 years ago. It used to be we took care, great care, provided exceptional services for students who walked into our doors, so who wanted mental health services or medical care. But we really wanted to expand our scope to include providing skills, resources, and an environment that supports all of our students, both at UConn and long after they graduate. Next slide. So just some practical things, and I think these presentations will be made available. We provide medical care, pharmacy, lab, radiology in the Hilda May Williams building, which is what students have to look up on the map. It's on Glenbrook Road, right behind Swan Lake, kind of behind the chemistry building. So that's where those services are provided. We also provide mental health services in a different building, our HONA, which is actually a classroom building historically, and that's by the Mirror Lake, if students are looking for that. And then I know some of you may be representing regional campuses. We also have a mental health resource center on one on each of the regional campuses. And we can talk more about those locations if people are interested in knowing that. But more or less, those are usually one building. So it's in the main building, except on the Avery Point campus, it's in the Bradford House. And then our health promotion services is on the ground floor of the Wilson building, which is actually a residential hall. So we're kind of reaching students in all different ways as they traverse through campus. Next slide. I'm not going to go through all of these services because, again, you'll have this as a handout. And Christina will spend some time going in much greater depth about the mental health services. But just to give you a sense, we offer a full array of medical care, from women's health to primary care, orthopedics. We oversee actually sports medicine for the students, athletes, and some of those providers provide care to our students who need specialty orthopedics, nutrition services, transgender care, 24-hour care. So, and then the other thing that might not be usual for those of you who may have come from other campuses is that we still do provide 24/7 overnight infirmary care. So we are open 24/7 on campus. We partner, this is a question you'll get a lot from students, we partner with UConn Health, who has an urgent care and some other services in downtown stores, but that is not student health services. So as students kind of traverse through these two environments, we work in coordination with UConn Health, but UConn Health downtown is more about kind of traditional care, and they then connect students back to us as students need to have their care modified to be able to remain in school or to kind of work with the Dean of Students Office or students with disabilities, things like that. And then Christina will talk about mental health, but also I'm going to spend a lot more time on my next few slides at the end talking about our new strategy to health promotion. So we still do prevention, health education, wellness education, but we have really worked over the last 2 or 3 years to completely redefine that department to be offering community impact, coalition work, and public health models of really working at a whole other systemic level of taking care of our students and providing a culture of wellness that really hopes to create more prevention and earlier intervention. But we'll be talking more about that. Before I move that slide, the ones that are highlighted that have the asterisks in red are also services that are provided at the regional campuses. Next slide. So why focus on student mental health and well-being? Like, why are we going to take after all of those services? We could talk a lot about COVID too, but I think people are, done with, that you can ask questions about that as you need to. But so why are we going to focus on student mental health and well-being? And Amanda, this is going to be annoying, but like they're going to pop in one at a time. So the College Student Mental Health Crisis, Psychology Today in 2015 started talking about it. Just kind of keep going. NPR was talking about the mental health epidemic. Students of color are having even additional issues as diversity culture intersect with mental health. Our transgender students are also struggling in different ways, and that communicates itself through mental health issues. Then you start seeing a lot of articles about how colleges are struggling to meet the mental health needs. So not just the students, but the structures and the systems that are taking care of them are being really taxed. And to me, one of the most telling issues is that for 4 surveys in a row, about 3/4 of presidents of colleges and universities listed mental health issues as their most pressing issue. That's different. That's different than 5, 6, 7 years ago. And that's before or in the middle of COVID, but the first 3 surveys were before COVID. So this is a national college, collegiate issue that we're really wrestling with, and we really want to be, as a university, with a lot of support from leadership, thinking about this in a different way. And I'm just going to show you some national data. We don't have to go over this again. This will be in the slides that you get. But it used to be that about a third of the diagnoses were depression, anxiety, and relationship issues. over the years, we're starting to see a much more acute presentation that students are coming to mental health services with. So a lot more anxiety, a lot more depression. This is actually someone else's slide. It's in a published article, but I actually have the data from 18, 19, 20, and it's just getting further apart. It's not coming closer together. So it's a trend for sure that's maintaining itself in terms of acuity. Next slide. And this slide shows how this is another survey that looked at, there's been a 79% increase in students who were treated for mental health in the past year from 2007 to 2017. And then also a 64% increase in students who were diagnosed with a lifetime mental illness. And Christina will talk a lot more about this, but our models of care, not our models, but nationally across the country, collegiate mental health models of care were very much about transitions to campus and to adulthood, and not really set up to deal with lifelong mental illness. And that's what students are now presenting with. So we do need to rethink how we take care of our students as a college campus, as is true, as most of our colleagues are wrestling with across the country. Next slide. And this is UConn data. 2019, we also have 2021 data, so before the pandemic, after, pretty much replicating the same trends. And the reason why I wanted to put this trend in, it's not just mental health that's being diagnosed. So anxiety, depression, suicide ideation are diagnosable expressions of how our students are coping, but above average stress, overwhelmed, very lonely, that's something different. Like they might come to mental health for services, but really that's more about, to me, a culture, a kind of a cultural issue, and that there's a lot more people that can intervene to support students who are experiencing above average stress, who are overwhelmed, or who are very lonely. And those numbers represent national numbers across our colleagues in other colleges, our students in other colleges. So as I mentioned before, we've worked with senior leadership and an outside consultant to really rethink how we tackle some of these issues. So we've reorganized our health education and wellness department to be a model of public health, or what we call community impact. So treatment on the right-hand side is what students get when they walk in our doors for mental health and for medical care. Early intervention is some of kind of that transition. So it's still at the individual level, but we want more people to identify students earlier to get them to the care that they need. And again, Christina will talk more about that. We're doing this for all illnesses and diagnoses as much as possible. And then of course, prevention is also critical. And those three boxes, this is a model that's represented in many different areas of health. They're still mostly about the individual level. So it's strategies to work with individuals and get individuals into care earlier. But that bottom purple is basically saying we need to think about it from a systemic level. Next slide. And then so we're going to be we have been using this ecological approach. And I'm not going to go into great detail about this, but it's a sea change for how we approach thinking about these issues from like a college campus community, as opposed to individual students needing care and kind of being referred to services. Next slide. So the university community, with a lot of support from leadership all the way up to the president and the past president and our current president, have several initiatives that they're supporting. There was a mental health task force that made recommendations that we are now implementing, and there's a great website that shows that report, which I can provide to Amanda and Michael if people are interested. We are just closing out, and Michael and Christina and I are involved with the regional campus task force to basically look at mental health and medical care on the regional campuses. There's the Yukon Wellness Coalition, which I'm going to go into another slide about. And then I know that the academic affairs, along with colleagues across the university, are looking at life transformative education as a model. And these are all ecological models of how we think about taking care of our community. I think this is my last slide. So I wanted to just highlight a little bit about the Wellness Coalition, because we are always looking for ways in which to engage with colleagues across the campus. And you'll be hearing a lot more about this, but that academic affairs box actually has a video, and that committee, probably most appropriate for many people on this workshop, that committee actually has representation from all of the schools and colleges, mostly at the associate dean level, to really help us think about how we can leverage the relationships and the smaller community that colleges and schools at UConn provide. And so we could go into a lot more depth about each of these committees, but it's a great way to really think about changing the culture at UConn so that our students have a caring environment of wellness. And we want to come at a different time and talk into a lot more detail about this. But I wanted to give you a heads up that there's a lot going on at UConn that you'll be exposed to and invited to participate in as we move forward. And so I wanted to let Christina spend the rest of the time really delving into resources and ways in which we have resources for you to help as students present with some questions and concerns. Christina. On mute, Christina, you're on mute.
I said all the profound and wonderful things that I was going to say on mute, so now I have nothing left now. Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you for having us. Really excited to be here this afternoon. And as Suzanne mentioned, to talk some about, we're going to give a little bit more detail about what's available to students here and what's available to you, as well as some of the tools that we've been developing with an eye towards ways in which we can create a toolkit, if you will, to provide additional support as we think about a community approach to wellness, knowing that everybody plays a role. Their roles are all a bit different. And so being responsive to that and developing the right set of tools and strategies that meet the needs across the campus community. So we can move to the next slide. So here is where we really want to talk a little bit about our model of care. And when we've referred to this often as a circle of care, and we're still playing with the graphic, believe it or not, because one of the things we noticed is we didn't want to convey this notion that people have to kind of tick their way through these things, but instead to convey that there are really multiple pathways in. And that really is because everyone's journey is going to be different and everyone's needs are going to be different. And oftentimes we find students are calling and they don't yet know what they need or what they want. And so the first step is to get them through the door. So we really think about ourselves here in our HONA as we're the right supports at the right time. We will see a fraction of the students and want to make sure that for those that are engaging with us, we have developed what we call a rapid access process, which means, again, there are a lot of different ways in which you can enter the front door. So we're really trying to create what I would describe across the community campus as a no wrong door approach, right? That oftentimes students will intersect with different people through their journey, and we all can serve as a bridge to where students need to be. And so we think about our work in terms of it being solution focused and student centered. So knowing that every circumstance is unique and A plus B equals C equation isn't really something we think about here because every circumstance is so different. But we really focus on, again, the needs that are in front of us from a student-centered approach and acknowledging the fact that what we're delivering are interventions with proven outcomes. And why that's important is because the field has evolved quite a bit over the years, and the investment of time and resources on the part of everybody, frankly, means that we really want to make sure that that is time well spent and that we are achieving the best possible outcomes, which means we're relying on evidence and making sure that we're using models with fidelity that can in fact yield the best possible outcomes for the students that we serve. And we want to make sure that we're meeting the diverse needs of our students. So that is all students across the board, regardless of where they come from, regardless of race, ethnicity, culture, graduate status, undergraduate status, wherever they are is where we want to meet them. We want to be available to all students and across the life of their academic experience with us. So that means there could be episodic experiences where they might engage with us early in their academic career, and then it might be 2 or 3 years and they feel that they need to come back, or it might be 3 months later and they might want to come back. So we've got that continuity of care that's available to them. But I want to go through these circles a little bit with you just to offer a bit more detail about kind of the range of options that are available to students. And one of these I'm going to put off to the side. It's the Consultation Circle, which is really designed specifically for faculty and staff. But for the purposes of students, we have a whole host of wellness resources. So this notion, as Suzanne was talking about prevention, is while we're focused on attending to the mental health needs that present themselves for students, is we're also really excited to work systemically and being part of that, creating a culture of wellness and getting further upstream. So ways in which we can support that is offering meditation and mindfulness and yoga. And we have a host of resources that are available on the website for students who want self-directed activities, or they prefer reading or engaging in a video. So there's a lot of ways in which we can support students at the front end. The Let's Talk is a model that comes out of Cornell, and it really acknowledges the fact that students seek support in a lot of different ways. And this is a kind of a drop-in support, first come, first serve during the week, and is really an opportunity for an informal advice session, if you will, where a student might be contemplating engaging in clinical services and thinking, I don't know, I've heard about it. I'm not quite sure if this is what I want. I'm not sure if this is what I need. I just want to get some information, some guidance, some advice. And they can speak with a clinician and get that information. They can explore something that's happening in their day that they might need some informal advice on. There's ways in which we can support them there. And then we may never see that student again. That might have been what they needed and they moved on. Other students, we do screenings when all of our students come through the door, with the exception of Let's Talk, which again is more informal. But when we do the screenings, there are pathways forward. So some students prefer an individual therapy approach where they're matched with a clinician and go through a series of sessions depending on what their needs are, again, focused on their specific unique needs. Many students we're seeing are more and more taking advantage of group therapy. And in some ways that has a dual purpose. One, it meets their treatment needs, but it also secondarily ends up creating a kind of network of support for them, because now they're joining with other students who may have similar and like experiences, and they have an opportunity to have that network available to them. We also have students who both come to us having been having had medication and wanting to continue, and we have new students who are exploring that as one option available in their treatment path. And so we have a medication management team, and we also work closely with our colleagues on the medical side to manage those kinds of requests. We also offer crisis support, on-call crisis support, that is available 24/7 during the fall and the spring semesters, where students have immediate access to an on-call clinician, both day and night and weekends. And then we've got clinical case management. And this is really an opportunity where both when students are experiencing more intense and acute needs, sometimes they require a higher level of care. We can help manage moving that student from a higher level of care back into the community, back to campus. And also, if we have students with specific, unique, or specialized needs, work with them to identify a partner in our community that would be best able to meet those needs. So we offer all of this in a way that says we know every circumstance is different and every journey is different. And so we wanted to create diversity in the pathways forward so that we could be responsive to everyone's needs. I want to get into consultation a little bit more. So this is really available to faculty and staff, because we know that while we see a fraction of students, you all see all students. They come through your door every single day. And that while you're busy with a whole host of other demands and expectations on your day and what you're trying to do in the academic setting, is you may run into students who are experiencing distress for a whole host of reasons. I often think about, I use an analogy that may or may not be the best one, but I often say, if somebody needed a plumber, you would not call me. I would not be the person that would help. In fact, I would probably do more harm than good. But where I can be a helpful support in that regard is if somebody had a plumbing issue, I could say, well, I can't be the one to fix that problem. I do know somebody that I would refer you to. So I can become a bridge to solving that problem. But I am not myself going to be pulling out the tools and trying to make that problem get fixed. So the consultation is really one of many tools. And I'm going to talk a little bit about another tool that we have that really is about an opportunity for you to pick up the phone, be in touch with a clinician, and get some real-time consultation if you are concerned about a student in distress. So I wanted to call that out. Amanda, we can move to the next slide. Thanks. So as Suzanne was talking about some of the trends, and we see this nationally, but again, looking at our own data here, we mirror the national trends. So as we've seen issues of complexity and stress and strain on collegiate students, we've seen that here, and we've seen that measured by an uptick in both encounters, which is really the visits, the numbers of visits of people coming through the door, and then the distinct students. And those numbers, again, we're seeing incremental growth there. We have every expectation that will continue. I will tell you, in our first 2 weeks here, I see it as a real strength, not without its challenges, but we are seeing a lot of students come through the door seeking support. And I think, honestly, in a very proactive way. They know that they, they're encouraged, they're excited, they're thrilled to be here, and yet that also comes with trepidation and worry and cautiousness. And so they're coming through the door really to get some help and some support and identify the right set of resources for them. We can move to the next slide. So one of the things as we think about, I want to reflect back on Suzanne's earlier slide, which was really around this culture of wellness, where she talked about the life transformative education work and the mental health task force, the wellness coalition. Among those was also the university's intentional decision to become a JED campus, which is a partnership, a formal partnership with the JED Foundation, which works specifically around the issues of mental health, particularly in collegiate settings. And there's a numbers of institutions that are JED campuses now. What it means to be a JED campus is you go through a very thoughtful and deliberative process of self-assessment. There's 79 action items. There's 7 domains across things like substance use, mental health, education, campaigns, policy, all to understand the climate, the landscape associated with the support of the mental health needs of the student population. And one of the things they start with is they ask this question, like, where does your college, where does your institution sit? And I'm happy to say that UConn very clearly said, we believe the emotional health of the student population is seen as a campus-wide issue. And so the other thing that makes us unique is, of all the colleges in the country that have decided to become a JED campus, they've done it usually largely just driven by the leadership of that particular institution. Here at UConn, this was actually a partnership between the undergraduate student government and the leadership investing together to be part of the JED campus initiative. So we're 2 years into this work, and part of it is really making sure that we continue to paddle in the same direction and have a comprehensive strategic plan that outlines the ways in which we all play our respective roles, but largely create this culture of wellness across the campus community rather. We can move to the next slide. So you're on the front line. This is not new information to you. You have the benefit of seeing students every single day in front of you. And so, you know, if someone is going to see concerning or distressing behavior, more often than not, it will be in your classrooms or as you're making your way around the campus. And so we want to, again, arm you with information that is intended to be helpful and a helpful tool to help serve as that bridge to where students will get the support that they need. And one of the best things we can do is think about open communication and transparency. So when I think about the JED campus work, this is really some of the systems piece. Are we giving people the right information? Do you have the information that you need? Do you know where to seek supports? And that's not just true of faculty, it's true of students as well. So amplifying messages, making sure it's consistent across the board, that we've got websites that are easy to navigate, are all part of that process. So at the end of the day, our issue is how do we make sure we drive home an important message, which is, if you have concerns or questions, just ask, right? That's where we want everyone to feel like they can be. And there's a lot of ways that can happen. There's consultation across, obviously, your colleagues, working with others, because many have had similar experiences and know how to navigate some of that. You can always turn to us and use the consultation offering that is available. Contact the Dean of Students, and there are many other campus resources. The challenge, which I think is the blessing and the curse. So I'm a 2-time grad of UConn. My undergraduate experience was here. It was here in the late 80s, and I graduated in 1990. I was a prodigy. I started when I was 10. So I say that to say that the campus has grown tremendously over the years. And so there is a wealth of resources and opportunities available. How to know what all of those are can be a bit challenging, which is why I get excited when I get to talk about one of the next things we're going to talk about, which will be the red folder. So I'm going to get to that in a second, but we can move to the next slide, which is that, so the consultation services available to you, as I've talked about, are really around providing information about the campus and the resources that we have. Again, guiding you and the student down a path that's going to be most helpful for them. Working with you, we do presentations all the time. I just came from one earlier today. So it's not unusual to get requests from faculty and staff who really want us to come out. Sometimes it's around midterm, sometimes it's just before finals, sometimes it's at the beginning of the year, again, to offer an opportunity to provide some information to students, share the message of what resources are available so that they have that at their fingertips. And then crisis response and planning strategically about ways in which to get further upstream with students when there are issues that are presenting themselves. So then we go to the red folder, and the red folder for me is a really exciting thing. Amanda, we can move to the next slide. What's exciting for me about the red folder is the recognition that you all are very focused on the work that you have in front of you, and that your plate is full, to say the very least, and that we're here to serve the role on the mental health side. Our partnership is incredibly important and can be incredibly useful to students who can see that as a good connection point for them. So we could have developed something that was a 35-page document that likely no one would have time to read, or create something that really is a quick resource, simple to get through, and is easily accessible and available to you as a guide to just help you think through some of these things. So the way we think about this is you're connecting with students right out of the gate, right? As you're getting to know them, you're building rapport, you're engaging, developing relationships. Then the issue for the red folder is really outlining what we call recognize, respond, and connect. And so the recognition is acknowledging that you're going to see differences in students. You're going to know the students' patterns and habits, right? So the student that generally comes in every day, sits in the front of the classroom, shows up on time, gets their assignments in, is very engaged, high affect, high energy. Suddenly, over the course of a week, 2 weeks, you start to see they're coming in late. They're sitting in the back of the room. Their assignments aren't coming in on time. They seem a bit disheveled. There's a lot of other things at play. Often this for me falls under the category, if you see something, say something. Generally, those are pretty good indicators that something is happening. It could be something that's really easily fixable, with perhaps the dean of students. Maybe it's a financial concern that's been troubling the student, or maybe there's a question about another class that they're in. Maybe they need some accommodations that they didn't know. So there are other parts of the university system that can be helpful to them, but an opportunity for somebody to do a check-in and say, how are you? Is there something, it looks like you're struggling right now. That oftentimes can be that first conversation that, again, doesn't mean you become the person to solve the problem as much as you can put the student on the path to where they can get the supports that they need, so that can free them up and free you up. So we bucket these in recognize, we really thought about that in the context of academic issues, physical, emotional, risk related. This is not exhaustive by any stretch, but its intent and design was really to give you a sense and a primer, if you will, of things to pay attention to and to look at. Then the respond is really digging in a little bit, acknowledging that there's a whole host of ways in which you can respond, but some of those are around, obviously, safety is first. We're going to get to these, the stoplight, as I call it, at the bottom, but being proactive and staying calm, asking some direct questions of the student. The graduate school, I always credit them. They do a great job. They have a wonderful presentation that they title, How Are You and Other Scary Questions. And, we've heard a lot from faculty. In fact, there was a webinar, a national webinar, where there were a number of faculty who participated on a panel and said, I really am deeply concerned about students, but I have to express that I'm a little concerned that if I ask the question, I'm not sure I am the one to respond, and I don't know that I have the right answer. And so part of a tool like this is, again, to convey this idea that you've got partners who are here and we're really interested and eager to partner with you and make sure that that bridge is complete for that student. And also active listening, so that you can take the time to hear what the student has to say, feed that back to them, and again, an opportunity to connect them to us or to others. So the connection points down below in the green, yellow, and red are really, again, synthesizing very quickly. These are not all inclusive. There's a whole host of services and supports that are available across the community, but these are some of the key indicators. So in the green bucket is really a student who says, I really do have some real concern about a financial matter, as one example, and I'm not quite sure what to do with it. Or I think I might not be doing great in an academic class. I might have to drop that course. I'm not quite sure how to manage it. The Dean of Students has, in my estimation, been a really great resource of a place in which a student can start to explore and examine what options are available to them and begin to manage that that particular issue and get that resolved. In the yellow category, that is often reserved for this. There's something else going on. A student is seeing increased levels of anxiety, worry, distress that doesn't seem to be mitigated in any way. That might be an opportunity to file a care report for a student of concern. And it may also be an encouragement of that student to contact or reach out to us at Shaw Mental Health. And then the third bucket, the red bucket, is really, we're in crisis mode. Something as dangerous is happening, something is off. It could be a mental health issue, it could be a medical issue, but in any event, if it's a crisis, we want to call 911. But these are, again, just gauges. And then underneath that, we have a larger set of those contacts as well. All of this is available on our website. And in addition to that, we recently added a QR code to the back of one card. So if you all recently received a new one card, you will have that QR code on the back. If your students recently received a new one card, they too will have the QR code. The QR code was actually advocated by and recommended by students who wanted critical numbers to be on the back of their card, again, to have things easily accessible to them. And so things like the red folder are on there. This points straight to our website, but also includes our 24/7 mental health clinician, our 24/7 advice nurse, the Yukon Police Department, as well as the National Suicide Prevention Hotline and the crisis text line. So those are very easy to get to by virtue of the QR code. And then finally, I just want to cover a couple of other points about things that are also available to staff. We can go to the next slide. There are different training opportunities, one a little bit more involved than the other. The first is Ask, Listen, and Refer. This is a 20-minute video, and again, is really just a primer for suicide prevention that you can go through at any point in time. It's completely self-directed, available day or night. And then UConn Helps, which is a much more expansive training that's available, and we offer it, as do others. We've actually got a number of different folks across the university community who are certified trainers to deliver UConn Helps that can be delivered both to faculty and to students. And then finally, I want to move to how do you refer to mental health? So we can move to the next slide. So just very tactically, if you have concerns about student safety, obviously 911 and the number is there. For urgent needs, for issues of significant distress around mental health, the 24/7 on-call service is available. That's the main number at Shaw, which is at Shaw Mental Health, which is 486-4705. That again is on our website. It's on the QR code, and on the QR code, they can literally go straight to it. And there's a push button that will take you straight to that number. For less urgent needs, folks can contact mental health directly. We can do consultations, and you can even walk students over. We've had that happen certainly this semester and in semesters past. That's just a more of a warm handoff that some faculty have found to be helpful, and certainly students have as well. And then there's the care team, which is really another critical resource and an important partner of ours as a team that can do some enhanced outreach to students who might not be in a place where they're feeling like they want to accept that kind of support. They likely will not initiate that kind of support, but continued needs arise, so we can work together and the care report can be made by faculty anywhere. And then finally, I want to just talk about the role that you all play, as just underscoring what we've been talking about in this final slide. Amanda, we can go there. Which is that, what we're hoping for is that we continue to build tools that are helpful to allow you to be an ally in this work. Again, you have many other responsibilities, and so we want to make sure that we're arming you with the right set of information and strategies and tools to make sure that you can hand those pieces off in a way that you feel confident, as you're concerned about students that you might see presenting in distress. Be aware of those warning signs. Again, this notion of see something, say something, trust your gut. When you see students who something seems a little bit different than what you're accustomed to as you've gotten to get to know them, chances are something is, and leaning in a little bit can be a great opportunity to then make a connection for them that they may not even know exists. And then again, the knowing the campus resources, I go back to the red folder because I think there's so much out there that sometimes those pathways around things like the Dean of Students, the care team, the Shaw Mental Health team, and our public safety team are some of the important touch points that can help move students to other pathways as needed. Don't ever hesitate to reach out. We are here to provide consultation and support, refer to services, and then we, as I mentioned before, offer basic information. We can do presentations for your students directly. We can do it for larger teams of faculty and staff, and we can do tailored consultations based on what the needs are and how we can be most helpful. So I know I went through a lot very fast, but I'm mindful of everyone's time. Happy to answer any questions, and thank you all so much for your time.
That was fantastic. We don't have a lot of time, but we will have some time in the chat. Hopefully we have convinced you or enticed you to stay for the chat. So there'll be some questions in there, but there is a question currently in this chat, which is the QR code is for all students, including, oh, somebody's already, I'm actually reading the answer to that particular question in the chat. So somebody was quick. That was Suzanne that was right on top of that. So much appreciated, much appreciated. And certainly if there's a really pressing question that somebody has, you'd like to unmute and ask that question, that'll be great. But once again, there will be some opportunity in the breakout sessions to also ask some questions and get some additional information. I'll just say right off the top, the QR code is a game changer. QR code is a game changer. So thank you for really making that happen, right? Well, folks, I'm going to keep on stepping. We've got two more superstars to bring into the conversation. As I said, the chat will once again be open. I do want to make a correction right at the top. I was a little too happy about the resource fair. I should say that it will be in October. We haven't sent out the invites yet. We're in conversation with our colleagues at HR about exactly how we're going to facilitate both of our sessions so that we're good neighbors with each other. An invite will go out here shortly, and hopefully those of you who are here can make it to the resource fair as well. Look for the date to hold to be in mid-October, but you'll get some particulars here shortly. So let me make that correction while I have you here. I'd like to introduce Erin Ceramboli and Kelly Gilbert, who are going to be joining us to have a conversation about advising and other ways to support our students. Erin is the Director of University Advising and Pre-Professional Advising. Erin collaborates with faculty and staff across UConn and supports student success through partnerships, data and assessment, professional development, programming, and innovative problem solving. She also serves as UConn's Director of Pre-Professional Advising in the enrichment programs, honors and enrichment programs, supporting students and alumni as they pursue medical, dental, and legal careers. I also want to introduce Kelly. Kelly is going to be supporting today. Kelly Gilbert is the Coordinator, Advising, Learning, and Development. Kelly provides advisor, professional development, planning, and implementing new advisor onboarding and training, and coordinates university advising communications. She also serves as program representative for university advising and a central source to the university community. Welcome both Erin and Kelly.
Thank you. It's great to be here today. I recognize we don't have a ton of time, so my goal today is to basically share some ways that you can connect with advising and gain access to resources to maybe make you a more effective and informed advisor at UConn. So Amanda, I'm going to attempt to share and just jump in if it doesn't work this time in terms of the moving the slides along. So give me just 1 minute. Okay, so as Michael mentioned, I am here with my colleague Kelly Gilbert today, and Kelly is a great resource in terms of advisor training and professional development. We're going to mention a few resources there as well. Our website is advising.uconn.edu. Amanda, can you give me a thumbs up if you see it? Yes, great, thank you. It is a work in progress and we have an overhaul planned in the coming weeks, but wanted to let you know you can find a lot of resources on our website, connections, and our email is just as easy, advising@uconn.edu. We have a couple of goals for our brief session today. First, we just want to introduce ourselves as an office and a resource. We're in the Row building on the 4th floor. Actually, I see a couple of familiar names who were new to UConn last year who are joining us today. Last year was my first year at UConn as well, so it's great to be finally in a building and a space. We're also going to share some ways that new faculty advisors can connect and help you grow in your roles. And then make sure you know of the existence or availability of resources to help you enable student success. And again, we can't cover everything today, so we want you all to mark your calendars. If you haven't registered already for new faculty advisor training, we have 2 dates upcoming, and you can register at fins.uconn.edu. And these will cover the same information in both sessions, but we'll go much more in depth in terms of the information we're providing today. So a little bit about our office. Our office serves as a central resource across campus in terms of advising and student success. And we do this in a couple of ways. We aim to provide leadership and advocacy for our entire advising community, and I'll share some stats on that in just a minute, to promote and support effective advising strategies. Active communications have been so critical over the last year, and that's something we seek to support and share as much open information as we can to deliver advisor onboarding, training, and professional development, and I will share more about that, and really to enable connections and collaboration across the institution. Couple of quick facts. I saw some mention of regional campus students in the earlier chat. We do have 14 schools and colleges across UConn and 4 regional campuses, and over 115 majors. And incredibly, we pulled the numbers today, it was 1,500 advisors. And 125 of those are professional staff advisors, but a large majority are faculty advisors. An important thing to note, every school or college, whether you're in liberal arts and sciences or engineering or nursing, you have your own advising dean and director. And if you haven't connected with them already, please take a moment to reach out to them to introduce yourself. They may have already reached out to say, we've got some upcoming training and onboarding, but that is a great resource. And if you're at a regional campus and connected to an advising dean and director, that doesn't prevent you from reaching out to them, but you also have a student services office that is very distinct from STORs at each regional campus. So keep them in mind as a tremendous resource as you can kind of learn the ropes at UConn. So in terms of some things that are critical to your success as an advisor at UConn, and don't worry, we'll send the PDF after this with lots of links, but also go so much more in depth at our training later this month. The first is our professional development series, and this is a series where I think we have 10 sessions in the upcoming semester alone that is a balance between presentations from partner offices like the Dean of Students offices and some of our cultural centers who are talking about how you can learn more about their services and their strategies and what they're seeing as they work with students that can help you to be a better advisor. On the other hand, our office is building a series a second part of our series that focuses on advisor tools for enabling student success. So these are things like how to work with groups of students that may have special needs or need more specialized advising, We've done a great series on supporting students of color over the past year. We've also done a bunch of programs on student mental health, and I believe we're hoping to do one again this semester. But our first one is probably going to be on writing your philosophy of advising as an advisor. But those are going to be shared on our website, and we encourage you to mark your calendars for that because all of those will be virtual. We have our advising network listserv, so please send an email to advising@yukon.edu and join this. We send messages about once a week, sometimes more frequently with pressing updates, but this is your way to get connected to resources and information that are critical to the advising community. We've had a lot of changes even in the past week with some of our academic deadlines, and we'll be sending more information through that as well. I mentioned connecting with your school or college advising center, as well as your regional student services centers. Again, we have some experts in each school and college that have developed really great structures, tools, and ways of advising our students, whether you're in business, liberal arts, or over on our Avery Point campus. And then I wanted to put in an additional plug for our new faculty advisor training that I mentioned earlier. Please do join us. But again, all of these will be recorded if you can't make it. A couple of other ways that you can get connected as a faculty advisor at UConn. We have an undergraduate advising council, and while the membership on that is limited to some degree, we do have working groups. If you have an interest in data, if you have an interest in supporting students on probation, or any particular area of advising where you want to be a part, please reach out to us and we can connect you with the leaders of those groups. Our Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning has some great workshops as well that do feed into being successful as an advisor. You can register for these at the fins.yukon.edu website as well. I'm sure Michael would be happy to share more about life transformative education at UConn, of which advising and mentoring is one of our primary committees. I'm one of the chairs of our advising and mentoring subgroup, and we are looking to make some big moves in assessing, improving, and supporting advising and mentoring at UConn. And we see faculty members as especially critical in the role of mentors. In mentoring students, whether it is inside or outside the classroom as they seek to reach professional careers and reach their goals, whether it be graduate school or finding work in the future. And finally, I want to mention our website again, advising@yukon.edu. A couple of other resources that we think are really critical to our success and actually overlap with the things that Suzanne and Catherine shared. Nexus is a tremendous resource. If you have not yet tried to log into Nexus or been introduced to Nexus as a faculty advisor, please do that in the next few days. Nexus is our advising support tool where students can schedule appointments with you if you set it up to do that. It can help you see any previous notes on things on previous appointments that students have had. And then you can also see a lot of data and information on your advisees. You can download an advisee list with lots of characteristics in there. So this will be a primary focus of our faculty advisor training, but log into Nexus, see if you have access. And if you don't, you can send an email to nexus@yukon.edu to gain access as an advisor. Hopefully many of you have used Student Admin already to pull lots of reports and information and transcripts. We'll cover this at our training as well. And then Husky CT as a critical resource as you work through your classes or even in student organizations. Our two other critical partners we want to mention are the Registrar's Office, which is our go-to for anything related to scheduling, for grades, for registration, course catalogs. And I just want to put in a plug and a big hurrah for our Registrar's Office. They are so student-centered, they are so responsive, and they have a fantastic online chat. If you're ever meeting with an advisee and want to ask a quick question, they are on top of things. So please don't hesitate to connect with the Registrar's Office for any questions that relate to grades, transcripts, scheduling, that sort of thing. The other thing, which I know our friends from Shaw mentioned, was the Dean of Students Office. They are a tremendous resource if you have a student who is struggling with their transition to college life, who maybe has been missing classes or falling behind and you're not sure what to do. or if they need to access campus resources, or if you're just not sure where to go for help. Maureen Armstrong and her team are fantastic, and I can't say enough about them. And they're well connected to the care team as well if they ultimately urge you to put in a referral. So I think those are critical resources as you make connections with students as well. So we have a couple of questions in the discussion, which you'll be talking about in your breakout groups in terms of strategies that have worked well for you in the past and traits and qualities as a good advisor. But just wanted to introduce our office and some of the things that we will be connecting you with in the coming weeks, and encourage you to connect with us as well as you join the UConn community. So I think we'll be talking a little bit more in the minutes after this, but just wanted to introduce us and say welcome to UConn.
Aaron, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Suzanne, Christina, Aaron, Kelly, it's just a wealth of information there. I know we talk a lot in the Life Transformative Education Initiative about authentic learning and relationships. And, you know, we have also identified advising and mentoring and our capacity to support students' wellness are some of the most important areas for student success. But I also want us to think about how important those areas are for both faculty and staff to be involved in as well, right? What does an authentic relationship mean? Who gains the benefit from the impact of an authentic relationship? And I would argue that it's each individual involved in that relationship, faculty, staff, and student. And I am a true believer that life transformative education not only involves all of us, but impacts all of us in a most positive way. So I just want to say I really appreciate that. And thanks again for that information. I think we've got a couple minutes if there's just a question for any of the presenters thus far. And in a couple of minutes, we're going to go into the chats. But are there any questions out there and about? Anything to put into the chat? I see some thank you popping up in the chat, which is absolutely wonderful, absolutely wonderful. A lot of information. So I just want to reiterate the QR code, which I think is a game changer. I just want to iterate the training that Aaron talked about is coming up on advising. You know, every place has got a different system. You know, UConn has got its own system. So there are some ins and outs that we all need to be fully aware of. And I will have to say Nexus is a tool that we want to certainly socialize, is one of the most important tools for student success here at the university. I think the 60-second profile is another one of those game changers for students and faculty and staff to connect. So if everybody is good, why don't we head into the chats? Amanda, can you kind of give us a rundown about how that's going to work, if you don't mind?
Sure. So we're going to go into breakout sessions. We have 5 breakout sessions, and I'll be blasting about 5 different questions into the chat once you go into your breakout sessions, and you can take the opportunity to get to know one another, and then also answer some of the questions and kind of brainstorm together on how we can use this material that we learned today. So is everybody ready, or?
Be scared.
You're ready? Okay, I'm going to hit the magic button then and send everyone on the
All right.
All right.
We'll see you all soon. My goodness, Corey was just in the midst of a profound statement when you pulled us back. I could see James was itching to jump in. All right, all right. It's good to have everybody back. We've got a few minutes before we are out the door, but I'm sure we had some really wonderful, dynamic conversations. Anything anyone would like to share from the conversations in the breakout that you found particularly impactful or prescient, you know, to where you are right now, or just something new that you thought that's something I really need to think about when I sit down with my first advisee? Or I see a student in need, you know, in one of my classrooms, or just in my program. Any thoughts? Any shares? We put it that way.
I know something that we talked about in our breakout group that I had mentioned is for a lot of students, if they're being overwhelmed, they don't always know who they can turn to. So being transparent with your students and just letting them know that you're someone that they can come to if they're having issues, and having an open office outside of just your office hours, if you can personally handle that, is super helpful for those students. So just kind of keeping something like that in mind was something that we had talked about in our breakout group.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Just for them to know that you can put them, in contact with the right resource, right, is hugely helpful, right? And reaching out to them if you see, some different behavior, right, is it really impactful. So
Exactly.
appreciate that. Appreciate that, Jake. Thank you. Other shares? Or just to comment on what really works. Corey gave us a really great example about, advising that is ad infinitum. Folks have gone out into their careers and still reach back for advice and mentorship. Other ways that we think about, advising and being supportive, or, connecting folks for wellness, right? Any other thoughts? I think everybody here is going to be doing some advising, yes, in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Everybody here is going to be doing some mentoring in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Indeed, indeed. It's part of what we do, part of what we do. Well, I'm not going to press too hard. I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. It's the end of the day, end of the day. I just want to say once again, thank you so much to Suzanne, Christina, to Aaron, and to Kelly. It's a lot of great information. It's a lot of information, but they've given us some great resources that we can connect to. We just want to be able to support students when they come to us, whether it's a conversation about our journey as professionals, to get to where we got to, whether it is, what gen ed should I take next to fill this spot, whether it is, am I right-sized in my major, whether it is, I'm just feeling off today and I'd like somebody to talk to. This is the space that we are in. And I think you all probably know this space really well. And we just want to make sure we've given you the right tools to be able to support students and yourself while you are here. Your success while you're here is hugely important to us. We want this to be a long relationship. We want you to be here for a while. So we appreciate you coming in today. We appreciate you taking this time. Hopefully we'll see you at the resource fair. That information will go out here shortly. Hopefully we'll see you at the advising trainings and sessions. But thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being at UConn, just in a general way. You're on campus. If I don't bump into you, stop by Gully Hall. Say hello. Let's not stand on ceremony. All right. It'd be lovely to meet you all. Right. Break some bread. Everybody have a great evening, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.